Okay, well, thanks, Sean and Jolie, for taking time to spend time with me. So, how about if you could quickly just introduce yourself to those who are watching this video?
Sure. So I'm Jolie. This is my husband, Sean, and we've been at Red Village for less than, or I guess over a year and a half.
About a year
Yeah.
and a half now.
Yeah, and I've been in our small group, T&I small group, which we love, and yes, we get to know you fairly well, even in a pandemic, and
Yes.
really, uh, really appreciate you guys. And then, what brought you to Madison?
So I'm in the Navy and I currently work over at the Naval ROTC unit at University of Wisconsin. And Julie married me. So that kind of
I
is how we ended up here.
Yep. I moved here a little bit later, right when we got married.
Yeah, and then Jolie, you're an occupational therapist.
I work with children and adolescents through Unity Point Health Meritor, the children psych hospital.
Yeah, that's great. And so for the purpose of this video, one of the things I really appreciate about the two of you is just your heart for foster care. And so this is something that a number of folks in our church are involved with. And I think there might be a few other ones that might be interested in foster care as well. So in our time here, I'd just like to kind of talk a little bit about just your experience. So maybe to start out, maybe what kind of like history have you had with foster care? Like how did you get interested in doing that?
Sure. So I had kind of known about foster care for a long time. In elementary school, my best friend was in the foster system. And so I got a taste of what it was like through her experience and just the background of the trauma. She was my best friend before she entered the system and then after. And so I kind of saw the before and after and everything play out. And um, for her, it was a really hopeful and positive experience in the end. And she is close to both her biological family and her foster family turned adoptive family. And just seeing how the family worked with her and um, I guess her resilience too, but just that whole experience of how it became a whole family and everybody was so interconnected and the families were so supportive. It was just a positive experience for me that I carried with me for a long time. And I knew that I wanted to be involved in some way, but I didn't really know what that looked like. And then I ended up with a heart for teenagers through the process of my work in psychiatry and um, this through like some other ministries that I've done. I think it was a newer experience or kind of a thought process for him.
Yeah, so for me, I didn't really thought about it too much before we started getting into the process last year. Closest I had was my cousins who I'm pretty close to adopted their son. He's about 10 now, but always very positive towards adoption. And we've talked about that and stuff too. And
Mhm.
especially with the pandemic, Julie found out, especially because she works, um, I mean, fairly close with foster care and stuff.
Mhm.
She encounters it a lot at work that there was a big need, especially with the pandemic starting back in March. And that's kind of when we started talking and praying about it. And I want to say it was about end of March, early April that we decided we wanted to kind of pursue this.
And then, so from that process, it started into March, beginning of April. Then how long was that until you got your foster son?
It was a pretty short process. We were kind of forewarned that it would take a long time, several months. We don't really know why it ended up being a little shorter for us, but it was only about I don't know. We started our initial licensing process probably in June. We kind of put in our initial inquiry and then
Mhm.
got connected with the agency, which we just went through the county, but there are a lot of agencies you can go through. Some are faith-based and through more of like religious organizations, and other ones are just through the county and public.
Mhm.
Um, but they're all connected. And so we just contacted the county, and I think it was maybe 3 or 4 months
Yeah.
before we got our foster son.
Yeah. We did our final inspections with our house and stuff in about middle to end of August.
Mhm.
And then we got officially licensed, I want to say about halfway through September, and we got our foster son at the beginning of October.
Yeah, and we were called the same day that we
Mhm.
got licensed, so there was definitely a need.
Yeah, that's great. And so you had your foster son now for, so how many months has that been? Like 6 months or
It's
so?
about 5 months now.
Mhm.
And so I got to meet him, and it's
Yeah.
wonderful. I really enjoy being around him. So maybe you could share just a little bit in the 5, 6 months that you've been involved with this process. What are some of the joys and then maybe some of the sorrows that come with being a foster parent?
So to start with, just that mention of how the church has been involved and how you've been involved, we've been super grateful and even I think a little bit surprised, which maybe we shouldn't be, but with the support that we've had, we're very new to Madison and new to the church, and just the rally of people around us when we first started
Mhm.
was just amazing. And we had people bringing us meals our first week who we never had even met. And then we had our Bible study, our small group, who opened up to having a teenager there when really it was meant to be a group of basically newlyweds and young couples. And so to open up to a teenager who had no experience in church and had never stepped foot in any kind of really Christian environment was just amazing. And now he asks us if it's a Bible study week, and says, he enjoys being there. And
Mhm.
he's had a lot of conversations with you guys and your family. And um, it's been really joyful for us to see in a different way how a heart can be changed and transformed through Christ and through his people and in this ministry. So that's been one of the biggest blessings and biggest joys for us, is to watch those heart changes.
Yeah.
Um,
I think another cool thing is just, especially with a teenager, just seeing him grow as an individual, start learning new like life skills, things like that, and
yeah,
just some of the conversations we have are pretty deep, and they end up being really good conversations. And it's just been fun getting to know him as a person and see what makes him tick and kind of the similar interests that we have, because me and him definitely bond over like especially football. We're both huge Packers fans, so just finding different activities that he enjoys and things that we can do together and just learning from him at the same time too. It's been really
yeah.
cool.
That's one of the big things. Is a lot of people are afraid to foster teenagers, which is why there's a big need right now for those homes. But I would say that the joys and the rewards definitely outweigh kind of the cons of it, the negatives. We get to meet like people who are forming their identities, and it's
Mhm.
such a prime time for introducing them to the Lord, but also it's time for us to help them discover their interests and their hobbies. And we're figuring out what he wants to do in the future, and he has new ideas every day about jobs that he
Mhm.
wants and things he wants to pursue, or creative things he wants to try. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And it's nice to have a little bit of stuff to get interested in and for us to learn in the process
Mhm.
too. So that's been a lot of fun. Also just knowing, like, getting to know different people, and the people in his community, we're learning a lot about different services that are available, and it's making us more resources for other people in the community. um, but that also brings us to those sorrows. And
Mhm.
um, it's definitely a heartbreaking process at times. You're dealing with trauma and things from their past that come up, and you have hard conversations, and sometimes it's every day that these things are coming up multiple
Mhm.
times a day. And it's a lot to witness, and to not you're witnessing really hard emotions, and you don't always know all the background behind
Yeah.
it, which can make it really hard to process. And I think, at least in our experience with our particular team, they've been really strong and have developed a lot of rapport
Mhm.
with our foster son. And um, so it's been helpful for us to have such a strong team. And we know that's not the reality for everybody, but um, if you know how to advocate and have the right resources in place, you can get the services that they need. And we're always here to help too. Is like, you have plenty of people to talk to and to ask for that help and figure out what it is what are those questions that you need to ask, and all of that. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's almost hard right now to think about all the negatives, because the positives just outweigh them
Mhm.
so much. But
Yeah.
like, we know that it's there, and it's rooted in the trauma and background
Yeah.
of these kids.
Yeah. I mean, everyone's gonna have good days and bad days, and
Mhm.
just like Jolie said, you don't always know the background about what's going on. I think the most important thing is just you're there, and that speaks
Mhm.
highly already. And then just showing that you genuinely care and you want to be there and just help them work through whatever's going on, I think is huge. And those are some of the harder days, but at the same time, seeing them come out on the other side
Yeah.
and then is also a huge joy. So
Mhm.
it's really good to see them just like kind of learn how to process things and grow. It's really actually a very awesome thing to see.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, I know he really enjoys being with you. It's conversations I've had, and
We
I'm
hope
really
so.
grateful for just the Lord's work in his life. Is he shared a little bit with the story, some of his background and some of the trauma, and it is really heartbreaking. It's just to think for just it's hard enough to be a teen anyhow,
Oh, yeah.
and then you have just a lot of, yeah, it's just hard. So we need foster parents, especially Christian foster parents. So for those who maybe are watching this or maybe interested, is there any advice that you'd like to give, or maybe a place to start, if this, even if they're like just even a little bit interested in this, like, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah. So the first thing to know is that it's always okay to ask questions and to reach out, even if you aren't sure. If you just have that little bit of inkling in you that it's like, maybe I'm interested, maybe I'm not, I don't even know what really the foster care system looks like, you can reach out to us. There are several families in the church that would also love to talk to you. But you can also go ahead and reach out to an agency or to the county that you live in. If you just type in, here it's Dane County Foster Care, it brings you up the website and contact information. And that's where we started. We just sent an email and said, hey, we're interested. We have a lot of questions, and they have a lot of great people who are ready for that purpose to answer your questions and to talk to you and send you as much information as you need.
Yeah.
But it's really, it would have been helpful for us to know, I guess, foster families at the beginning. So we're really fortunate in that in our church community, we have several people in different places in their journey and who are doing different types of foster care, because there's long term and there's short term. So know that as well. If you're not ready to commit to that long term, foster to adopt, or even just long term foster care, it's okay to do it short term. And that can look like something called respite, which means that you have kids. It could just be for a day or a couple hours, or it could be for a week or a couple weeks or a month. So there are lots of different options in foster care and lots of ways to help out, and to give your time and your heart. That doesn't mean a long-term commitment right from the start.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, well, anything else you might want to say? I know it's all very helpful, but if any other just final encouragements, I want to give
Just kind of reemphasize that if you guys ever want to contact us, I know Pastor Aaron definitely has our contact information, our emails, and phone number, so please feel free. We would love to talk to anyone that's interested. We are very candid. We talk about our
Yeah.
experience, both goods and bads, and overall, it's been a very good experience. So, but if you ever need any tips or anything, or just where to get started, we are more than happy to help out.
We're
Yeah.
ready.
Yeah, if you're watching this, I do encourage you to take them up on their offer. They're great. Sean and Julie are just really great, and they'd be really happy to help
Thanks.
get started. And we believe the Bible, and we know that pure and undefiled religion is part of its caring for orphans, and this is a very real way to do it. And with their foster son, like, he's hearing about Jesus, and he's feeling the love of Jesus is through this sweet couple. And so who knows how maybe the Lord might use that in his life. Not just, he needs help right now. He needs someone to love and care for him. But who knows how the Lord might multiply that over, his lifetime. So it's a great ministry, and this is a great couple to talk with. So thank you so much for doing this video, and thank you even more for what you're doing with your foster son. It's just very encouraging.
Thank you so much for your
Thank you.
support and for having us.
Appreciate it.
All right. Well, take care.
Thanks.